Hello, it's Mrs. Glasson. Welcome to Wonderful Words beginning with N. And incidentally, before we get going, how are you getting on with the tutorials? Have you been writing down the new words? I hope so, because it's by writing down new words and researching them and then looking out for them in my real life. That's how I learnt so many wonderful words. And even though I'm an English teacher, I will never stop being a student of English because there's just so much more to learn. And as you know, I find it absolutely fascinating. Now, already I'm taking a rather nonchalant approach to this tutorial, but before I go off on one of my tangents and become nebulous, let's get going. So without further ado, students, get your pens ready. Wonderful words beginning with N. And we're going to start by looking at a word beginning with N that my son swears I taught him when he was in primary school. I have no recollection of having done that, but he said that it helped him later on when he went on to Cambridge to study geography. Yes, he's the boy that's often in my posts. Poor lad. He went to Sutton Grammar, and yes, students, it is true. He liked his teacher of English Literature A-level so much that he went to Cambridge to study geography. Anyway, I have forgiven him. What's the word? It is nebulous, meaning unclear or vague or indistinct. So, for example, and I hope that this never happens, students, if one of you asked me a question and I went off on some rambling tangent and my response to you was so vague and indistinct, you could say, very politely of course, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Glasson, your explanation was so nebulous. I'm still none the wiser about what that actually means." Now, I mentioned my son. Poor boy, he's probably thinking, oh, thank goodness she's forgotten that. I haven't forgotten. So nebulous and how it might have helped him at Cambridge when he was studying geography. Let's find it in a more geographical context, shall we? And by so doing, interestingly, students, it does help to redefine and clarify the way that we should use nebulous as part of our own vernacular. So when he was at Cambridge, he studied cloud formation. And so if you have a look at that definition there, students, for nebulosus, full of vapour, lacks detail. So you can already see the relationship between that and nebulous, meaning vague and indistinct. And furthermore, a cloud with a murky, nebulous appearance. Again, vague and indistinct, and very clearly related to this definition of nebulous here. And I'd just like to say, even though obviously English is the best subject in the world, my son really did enjoy doing geography, because by studying geography, he studied a lot about society, he studied about economics, he studied about geology. He really enjoyed it, and it is a very, very diverse subject. So there we go. Obviously, I think English rules, but he did love geography. And if you're interested, students, do some research and find out a bit more about cloud formation or about what you can study if you study geography. There you go, that's my cross-curricular link. But I still don't like maths. And now for a complete change of tone. From one adjective beginning with N, nebulous, to another, nefarious, which means something very different, extremely wicked or heinous. And that's the joy of having taught you already. I know that you know what heinous means. And by using it as an example for nefarious, I'm helping to contextualize and define that word. But at the same time, and I hope that you have watched the wonderful words beginning with H. If you haven't, you must do so. At the same time, I am consolidating and extending your understanding of a word I've taught you already. Heinous. And you know the example from literature that I like to use, of course, Iago. So students, when are you going to read Othello? Haven't you read Othello yet? Well, even if you haven't read Othello, do some research. Find out about what happens in Othello. Find out about Iago, who was nefarious or evil, sinful, villainous, immoral, iniquitous, and this word beginning with P. And it's your homework to find the word beginning with P and ending with S that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 letters in between. That is a synonym for nefarious, meaning extremely wicked and heinous. And I will, of course, teach that word to you in wonderful words beginning with P. So you've got a couple of weeks now to find out what this word is. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on those wonderful words beginning with N. And so usually, students, I would give you an example of a nefarious character by looking to Shakespeare, because you know that I've already told you that Iago from Othello is one of the most nefarious and compelling characters in fiction. But look what I've done this time. I'm trying to be trendy teacher. Now, it's well known that I have never read any Harry Potter. In fact, my 11 plus students are always trying to convince me to read Harry Potter. I've just never got round to reading any Harry Potter. But in order to try to be trendy teacher, I have tried to find some nefarious characters in the Harry Potter books. And it says here that these are the 9 nastiest Harry Potter villains. So that's another word beginning with N. I would use the more ambitious word, obviously, and encourage you to use the more ambitious word. So now you can say that these are the 9 most nefarious Harry Potter villains. There you go. I thoroughly enjoyed teaching you, as I always do. And my son can stop cringing now because I've stopped talking about him. So next time we're going to look at wonderful words beginning with O. And I hope that you'll be writing down the new words so that you will make your lexis more elevated. You'll make your diction more dexterous. And you will make your English exemplary. Press the pink subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and I look forward to seeing you soon.